Hi, welcome to SBR Forum Videos. I'm Peter Loshak. This is the regular NBA conference update show that we do with Jordan Sharp, and right now it's January 8th, so we haven't done in a while, but now we're going to catch up with Jordan Sharp and see what he can tell us about what we might expect from the NBA for the next few weeks. Jordan, thanks for being back with us.
Pete, always a pleasure.
All right, January, right? College football's over. You know, the Super Bowls are coming up, but it's time for us to focus on basketball. Let's see what you can tell us about the NBA. Let's start with the Eastern Conference, all right? Let's start with Indiana, right? Best team in the East in terms of ATS record, 23-12 against the spread. You know, I've kind of been following Indiana, playing them on the spread, playing their unders, but they've now lost 4 of their last 5 games against the spread. So what do you think? The party's over for Indiana, at least in terms of betting their spreads?
Yeah, I think a lot of teams that are really good ATS teams might be seeing a little bit of a fall from grace here. Indiana might be one of them, but I really think that their ATS value is tied to their defense. And like you just said, you've been following their unders. That means you've been playing pretty well with them recently because they're one of the best. They are the best under-cashing team so far this season. So I think it all really ties into how well they play on defense every given night. You think you have to really be weary of them maybe on the second night of a back-to-back, things like that. But, I mean, Indiana playing against the East, I think they're going to continue to be a little bit undervalued in certain scenarios, you know, maybe at home and such. But yeah, you have to be really cautious of them right now because we are getting into those dog days of January in the NBA, and guys are starting to feel it as we get towards, you know, we're around the 30 plus game mark now. So with Indiana, I'd say be cautious, but I don't think you're going to see a huge loss in value of them all of a sudden. They're still a very good team in a very bad conference.
All right, but so going forward, you expect them to continue being a good bet?
I would say that, yeah, I think this may be just a little bit of a blip on their radar. They've had some tough games here over the last couple of weeks. They played a lot of games. I think things will start evening out once they get back into the flow of things. I think they will get back to covering a little bit more like we've seen in the past. Like we've said at times, they are kind of the Spurs of the Eastern Conference. They're just consistently undervalued, even though they're still a very good team.
All right, and then let's move on to Toronto. Now, Toronto, this is a team that slipped under the radar, slipped under my radar. I didn't even realize how well they were doing against the spread until a guy posted a thread at SBR Forum asking who's been on the Toronto train recently. And, you know, I looked it up. Toronto's now covered 8 in a row, and they're 12-2 against the spread in their last 14. And I was not on that train. And it's frustrating because I'm looking at that record. I'm thinking about how much money I would have if I had just bet Toronto every game over the last 14 games. What do you think? The train keeps rolling?
I don't think you need to feel too bad about it because they really did come out of nowhere. I think they took everyone by surprise right after that Rudy Gay trade. It kind of exactly what happened to Memphis last year when they traded Rudy Gay. They started playing really well against the spread. I think this one is a bit more of an anomaly because I think we could have seen the Grizzlies coming when they did after they traded Gay. But with the Raptors, I like what they're doing right now, but it's really only a matter of time, I think, until they start falling off. This team is talented. I think they have some good young pieces, and they're really starting to come into their own with guys like DeMar DeRozan, Kyle Lowry, both having very good years. Lowry's on a contract year, so you know he's trying to play well. I think that overall, they'll probably still be, you know, at least a solid bet for the time being, but I think that's only, like I said, it's only a matter of time before they start falling off. They just may be a short-term value, kind of a bull market situation, but I think it'll turn bear pretty soon. I'm not too excited about the Raptors going forward. I do think it's very impressive what they've done.
Yeah.
I don't think they can sustain it for a much longer. It's just, even though they play in the Eastern Conference, I think the Nets are probably going to overtake them sooner rather than later. And even though I think they may still be able to make the playoffs in the Eastern Conference, it's really just not saying much right now.
I don't know, man. 14 games, that's kind of that's not really short term in the NBA. And kudos to some guys at SBR Forum, because I definitely remember as soon as that Rudy Gay trade happened and they watched 1 or 2 games, there was a thread on SBR where a couple of guys said, you know, bet on Toronto because, again, yeah, Rudy Gay seems to be kind of like poison for a team. When a team gets rid of him, they start to play a lot better and they become a good bet. All right, and then you just mentioned Brooklyn. You know, Brooklyn's covered their last 4 games. You know, are they maybe poised to become the new Toronto in terms of betting value?
You know, with Brooklyn, I think that they are a little bit, you know, coming into their element as well. They haven't lost yet in the new year in 2014, both against the spread and straight up. Now they play against Miami on Friday night here, so we'll see how well that goes. But they do get the Heat coming off of a back-to-back the night before, so that'll be good for them to potentially keep that streak going. But with Brooklyn, it really all ties into their injuries and how many guys they can, consistently sustain and keep healthy on the floor for long periods of time until we really get a good view of what this team's going to look like. Yeah, they've started to turn things around. The veterans that Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett getting a little prideful here and starting to play with a little bit better, rallying around the team since Brook Lopez went out. I think they're a team that's definitely going to continue to be at least a winning team straight up. Whether they're a winning team against the spread, I'm a bit more leery of that. I can't really say that they're going to really magically start having value here. But I think they could be a pretty good bet. They normally tend to play pretty well at home, like most teams. So I would be cautious to say that they're really going to see a surge in value ATS-wise. But I really think that they could. I would not shock me at all to see them, continue on this New Year turn that they've been on.
All right. Well, that was a little bit circumspect. Let me pin you down here. Can I get a prediction from you on how they'll be ATS percentage-wise for the rest of January? What do you think? Like 55%?
I'd say that they could definitely go above 55%. I'll go on record and say that, yes, I think the Brooklyn Nets can close out the month of January. I really haven't had a chance to look at their schedule through the month of January. Like I said, I know they play the Heat, and then they do have a stretch, I think, of games where they do have some home games coming up after that. But right now, yes, I think I could say that the Nets will at least be profitable for the duration of January.
Okay, and then before we move on to the Western Conference, what can you tell us about anything of note from the rest of the East?
Well, like I said last month when we talked, I really was high on the Charlotte Bobcats. They were just above even money on ATS value when we talked last time. They continue to surge to a 20-14 ATS record. I think they are consistently undervalued and will continue to be a pretty solid bet. Everyone, like I said, I think I mentioned last time we talked, knows how bad they've been in the last couple of years, and they're really turning things around. They're getting Michael Kidd-Gilchrist back, which may not sound like a lot, but he's definitely their best defender. So that's going to really help a team that's already a pretty good defense. So I think they'll continue to be undervalued and probably be a pretty good bet. They're also really good on the undervalue as well this season. And I really think the Wizards here, who have really started to turn things around ATS-wise at 19-14 this year, I think they're going to start to really see a surge in their value if they can continue to get guys healthy and keep guys healthy on that front line. But I really like the value. I think those two Eastern Conference teams, Charlotte and Washington, will create for you here for the rest of January and probably through the trade deadline.
All right. Thanks so much for your thoughts, Jordan Sharp. Now let's move on to the West.